Hey everyone, Peter here again, and I'm back after another 1 week hiatus with another episode of the Bits and Pieces. And thank you so much for watching, and please excuse the absence. I'm back, hopefully to stay on a consistent basis, maybe bi-weekly, because right now we have a little bit of slowdown in horror movie and most movie news in general with everything that's going on with COVID pandemic. But I actually have some horror-related news articles to talk to you about today, and I'm really excited about them. So we'll go first to bloodydisgusting.com. Article was published on April 14th, 2020 by John Squires. Title of the article is Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will release in November 2021. Now this article is interesting to me for a couple reasons. The first being I've been watching a ton of Ash vs. Evil Dead lately. I didn't know, a full disclosure, I didn't know it was on American Netflix, so I'm right back, watching through, love it, and I saw this news, I'm like, oh, I gotta lead off with this, so here we are. That's the picture of the title card for the movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness that I think is going for the top spot in the most syllables used in the title of a Marvel movie. I'm just going to go on a limb and say that. Sam Raimi has now officially confirmed that he's directing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So 2 thumbs up on the bits and pieces to that news. A horror-oriented sequel that will release on November 5th, 2021. Because as I've talked about previously about this movie, is that I've been a little bit on the fence. PG-13 horror, I'm not a huge fan. It's usually based just on jump scares, but Sam Raimi has signed on. I'll give it a shot. The sequel was originally set for release on May 7th, but the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in production being pushed back and the release date being delayed to November 5th, 2020. Then we just have a little brief snippet of Benedict Cumberbatch will return as Doctor Strange in the sequel with Benedict Wong, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Elizabeth Olsen also expected to reprise their MCU roles. Jay Bartlett wrote the script, and also it was being worked on by Michael Waldron. So that's it, just a brief one, because I wanted to continue covering it, because I've said before I want to cover this movie, even though I'm kind of like lukewarm on it. The news that Sam Raimi is now directing it has me a little bit warmer, so we'll see what we get down the pipe in terms of the production for this movie. But that's it for this article. Thank you, bloodydisgusting.com, for Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will release in November 21. Holy, that's a mouthful. Let's get to the next one. Alright, and for the next one, we're going to go to Dark Universe Horror Database, published on April 13th, 2020 by Zach Kinney, and we have news. We've talked about this. On the other day, we were talking about this on Jezzer's stream, that they were working on Resident Evil 2 and 3 together. Now we have news that Capcom is reportedly developing Resident Evil 4 Remake. So there's a picture from Resident Evil 4. Sources close to Video Games Chronicles are reporting a remake of Resident Evil 4 has entered full production. Capcom released the Resident Evil 3 remake just under 2 weeks ago, but the reporting should come as of no surprise due to the major success of the previous reboot entries. It goes on to say the remake of Resident Evil 2 has sold over 6.5 million copies worldwide since its release in January 2019, while the new reboot of Resident Evil 3 has shipped more than 2 million copies in just 5 days. Now, is that hard copies? Because it says the word shipped. I would think that might just be actual physical copies of the media, and that doesn't encompass what's been sold online, i.e. Steam or the PlayStation Store. But that is really good news that I was just digging a bit there more in the number. But this is good news that we're getting Resident Evil 4 remake for Resident Evil fans. I still haven't even been able to play a lot of Resident Evil 2. I've got the demo for both. I really need to get more into that. I know Resident Evil 2 is on sale right now on the PlayStation Network. Again, on the fence, like a good Canadian usually is. According to the site, the game is set to be released in 2022 and is being developed by M2, a new studio founded by former Platinum Games CEO Tetsuya Minami. Tetsuya Minami, I do apologize for butchering that the first time. I think I got it the second time. The original Resident Evil was released in 2005 and received universal acclaim from critics with a score of 96 on Metacritic. The game has been ported to newer consoles through the years, but this will be the first true remake. So there we go. So we've got, like I said, Resident Evil 1. I think that came out in 2014, I want to say, that remake. I still like it. I know it's not as good as what I've seen from number 3 or what number 2 is reported to be and what I've played of it. I do enjoy it. Then we got 2019's Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3 this year, Resident Evil 4 in 2021. Who knows? We can only hope. That's it for this article. Capcom reportedly developing Resident Evil 4 remake. Thank you so much, Dark Universe Horror Database. Let's get on to the next one. And for our next article, we're going to go back to bloodydisgusting.com. This article was published on April 14th, 2020 by John Squires. Title of the article is another one that I've been thinking about because we're leading up to the season premiere of The Last Drive-In, is that pro wrestler Chris Jericho will be co-hosting the season premiere of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. Now, if Darcy the Mail Girl is with them, that trifecta, geez, I need to see this. I can't wait to see it. So there's a picture of Jericho. I believe he's in like AWE or AEW wrestling, like American Elite Wrestling or something. They popped up over the last couple of years. I'm pretty sure he's part of that promotion, but he is still wrestling. Shudder announced today that pro wrestling legend, current AEW superstar and Fozzy lead singer, oh yes, his metal band, Fozzy, Chris Jericho will co-host the upcoming season premiere episode of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, which will be streaming on Friday, April 24th at 9 p.m. When Joe Bob asked me to come watch a movie featuring butt darts, brain-sucking backgammon for digits, and maniacal mini oats and a dick dog, I said, "What time and what trailer park?" Chris Jericho said in the statement sent out by Shudder today. Chris Jericho is the most exciting wrestling personality to befriend horror since Rowdy Roddy Piper co-hosted They Live with me on TNT many years ago, said The Last Drive-In host Joe Bob Briggs. In fact, Jericho may be the most famous wrestler in the world right now, not to mention lead singer for a metal band that charted on Billboard with an anthem that thousands of arena fans know by heart. Is that Tear Down the Walls? Remember Y2K back in the day? Anyways, dating myself, but I'm a boomer. What can I say? I'm going to share the hosting chair with Chris so that he can go wild on a 70s horror classic that he's been crazy about since high school. He's a world-class athlete, podcaster, actor, musician. He's really a one-man bundle of pop culture fun. And on April 24th, he's going to prove that he's also a drive-in kind of guy. Don't you just love listening to me improv, unedited here on the Bits and Pieces, just flub lines like crazy? But it's real, folks. It's real and authentic, and it's stunning and brave. All right, there's a tweet from Chris Jericho. Join me on season premiere of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs and Kinky Horror. So yeah, Darcy the Mail Girl will be there for the three. I can't wait till the two of them start going on her, and she goes right back at them with just as much. So on The Last Drive-In, Joe Bob Briggs, the world's foremost drive-in movie critic, presents an eclectic horror movie double feature, interrupting the films to expound upon their merits, histories, and significance to genre cinema. Episodes of The Last Drive-In first stream on Shudder TV live in the US and Canada before being made available on demand. The show's hashtag Last Drive-In, has trended on Twitter during the premiere of every episode in season 1 and across 4 holiday specials, including Joe Bob's Halloween Hootenanny and a very Joe Bob Christmas. New episodes will premiere on Shudder Friday nights through June 26th. The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs series is produced by Matt Mangiuridis and Justin Martell and directed by Austin Jennings. So that's great news. I already knew that was coming back. I was excited to hear that we were that close to The Last Drive-In a couple weeks ago. I heard that news out April 24th was the premiere. I was excited to hear that we were that close. Jeebus. But pro wrestler Chris Jericho co-hosting the season premiere of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. When all else fails, wrap up to the article. That's for this one. Let's get on to the next one. All right, and to wrap up this week's episode of the Bits and Pieces, we go back to Dark Universe Horror Database. Article was published on April 13th, 2020 by Zach Kinney. Title of the article is, "We do Crystal Lake Fridays here, Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, the board game, brings Camp Crystal Lake to life this summer. I need this board game." I think I'd seen something about this before. I don't think I talked about it on the Bits and Pieces, but this is not the first time I've heard of this game. But this is the first article that I've seen that I can actually talk about it. And if I have done it in previous episodes and it's just out of my memory, since so many things seem to be at times, so be it. Let's get on to the article. The OP Games is releasing the first ever officially licensed board game for the Friday the 13th series, Friday the 13th Horror at Camp Crystal Lake. Now, I want to know about this because we've talked about this many times on the show. The lawsuit that killed the game, put the new movie on hiatus, the 40th anniversary movie, mind you, that should have been released this year. Was this licensing deal signed before that lawsuit? So was this exempt? They were developing this beforehand, or was it after? Like, I'm not too sure. I don't know enough about this game or OP Games. Maybe I'll do a little bit more digging to find out when this deal was signed, because it would make sense. It would have to be before, because no new content or anything would be able to come out since that lawsuit was enacted. You'd think that might not be the case. It could just be media related stuff, but I would think this would still be considered physical media. If I was a lawyer being for the plaintiff of somebody improperly using my license, I would definitely use that argument that a board game is physical media. But let's take a closer look at it. So we got an awesome cover. We've got some coins covered in blood. I think that's a counselor card, play cards. Maybe it's things that you do in terms of the game. And that looks like the board game, like the actual board. I'm not too sure. That's the sign from the original Camp Crystal Lake from the first movie. Mr. Christie knows it well, but I'm not too sure. From this picture, I can't really see what you would do. I can't read. I can't zoom in on this picture. Kind of failed there. Let's go on. Coming this summer, the OP describes the game as an anxiety-driven, press-your-luck horror game. Players take on the roles of cliché camp counselors like the stereotypical nerd, the partier, the nice guy, the final girl, the diva, and the jock, as they must rely on chance and strategy to survive 5 nights being terrorized by bloodthirsty Jason. Now they're amping it up. 5 nights? Like, come on, the NES game's only 3. The game I play, Friday the 13th, the game, is just the 1 night. 5 nights, jeez. These people are troopers. Coveted tools of survival are just within your reach to randomly draw from a camp bag, cast iron pans, gasoline cleavers, flashlights, and more. Collect them to make various combinations for points and use additional fear cards for ways to escape his attacks. You only have strategy and supplies to keep you alive, but the odds of returning safely to the camp get slimmer with every turn. Steal supplies from your friends, take them with you to the cabin, or keep what you find and wait out the night to be the last one standing. I'm in. I'm sold. The game retails for $29.99, and more information can be found on the OP website, including which game pieces are included. I'm going to be checking that website out after we're done with this article. With the Friday the 13th film series and a continued rights battle, it could be a long time before we see Camp Crystal Lake on the big screen again. Luckily, the board game will attempt to fill the gap and provide horror fans with much needed bloody entertainment. Now, I talked about this last week on Crystal Lake Fridays. We were supposed to wrap up around this time, about mid-April, the oral arguments for that rights agreement. The final readings of them were supposed to be done around this time, and we were supposed to have a settlement by June. That was the outlook, but I'm sure with the COVID-19 pandemic, that has been delayed, unfortunately. So there's a close-up again of the game. So let's check that out. Maybe I'll do an unboxing of that, and I'll do like a pseudo-esque my Peter at Dawn bits and pieces type of board games. Who knows? If you guys want to see it, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think of that. Let me know what you think of the video overall, because this is the end of the bits and pieces. There's a little bit of the board game. Return to the Cabin Bravery bonus. Night 1, Night 2, Night 3, Night 4, Night 5. That looks like the Jason Voorhees tombstone or gravestone. Can't really read that. Critical Supply Objective. Not a chance. That's the best I can do. It's kind of pixelated. Oh, there's a back. There's a back of the box. Before I wrap it up, let's read this. They were warned. They are doomed. And on Friday you were warned. You're all doomed. Now you're all gonna die. Crazy Ralph for the win. And on Friday the 13th, nothing will save them. Summertime fun is dying out at Camp Crystal Lake, where masked and murderous Jason Voorhees is on the hunt for camp counselor blood, and your unlucky day is looming. In Friday the 13th, horror at Camp Crystal Lake, you and your peers are grasping for as many life-saving supplies as you can find to escape. The the vengeful serial killer slaughter, beware of backstabbing friends and misfortune that awaits in the woods, and try to make it out alive through 5 nights in this edge-of-your-seat game of chance, strategy, and survival. So there we go. We've got the final girl, and it shows like a combination bonus, your supply value. So dodged him, you dodged what happened here, not a chance, you can go first. Looks interesting. I'm not sure what the coins are. Maybe that's the supplies. Here's some weapons, the cleaver, the axe, the flashlight, gas can, and a set of keys. The mask, it's every camper for themselves when Jason starts hunting you down. A high tension, press your luck game. Bad luck. You don't know the half of what you're in for. Anyways, like I was trying to wrap up before, that's it for this week's episode of the Bits and Pieces. And thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below of all the articles, as always, for coming in and watching it. And while you're here, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll be back next week with more Bits and Pieces. And until then, I'll talk to you soon.